The video that you're about to watch was designed to be watched as a small group or as a ministry. And so if you want all 3 episodes, discussion questions, and more, just click the link in the description of this video. All that can be in your inbox in 30 seconds. We tend to think about faith as though it's all or nothing. You either have faith or you have doubt, and there's nothing in between. But I'm not sure that's the case.
Jeffrey!
Dude, are we doing the recording like right now?
You better believe it. Well, I kind of need footage of the CN Tower, but more specifically, footage of like the glass floor. I'm like, well, would Jeff be willing to go to the CN Tower and get that footage for me?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, just tell me what you need, and I'll go get it. Like, you couldn't have emailed me this or like texted me? Like,
I did put on my glasses just to say that.
You know, in the last video, we talked about John the Baptist, and he had a crisis of faith and doubted whether Jesus was the Messiah. And we talked a lot about what was going on in John's heart that caused him to doubt. Jesus wasn't fulfilling his expectation for how the Messiah should act. But there's a whole other dimension to this story that we didn't even touch on. And that's the fact that John's belief that Jesus was the Messiah wasn't wrong, but it still needed to change. That might sound weird to you. It sounds a little weird to me. If his belief isn't wrong, then how does it need to change? You see, what John went through is something that needs to happen in the life of everyone who wants to follow Jesus. Let me explain it this way. A couple years ago, I was drawing with a little kid named David. He was about 3 at the time, and I don't remember what he was drawing, but I know that I was drawing a sunset over the ocean because I don't have a lot of visual art skills and there are a couple go-to scenes for me. He looked at what I was drawing and he asked, "What happens when the sun touches the water? Does it burn it all up?" And I was like, oh boy, here I go with an unprepared science lesson to a 3-year-old. And so I started to explain very poorly that the sun is going around the earth, and so it just looks like the sun is touching the water, but it isn't actually. And then I realized I'm not even explaining this properly. The sun isn't moving. We're moving. And so I tried to undo everything I had just told him. Needless to say, David didn't get his question answered that day, and he was very confused. Other than I assured him the sun doesn't actually touch the water and he doesn't need to worry. I think this story is a great example of how our beliefs can mature over time. David believes the sun sets, and that's good. There is such a thing as a sunset, but his understanding of what that means is going to mature in some pretty radical ways over time. And even for me, someone who allegedly gets it, I still need to grow in seeing reality for what it actually is, rather than just seeing it from my perspective. So back to John's story. Jesus responds to John the Baptist by quoting from the book of Isaiah, something that they would both be really familiar with. Historically speaking, the Jewish people who lived between the writing of the Old and the New Testament would think of a passage like Isaiah 11, where it says that the Messiah will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth. With the breath of his lips, he will slay the wicked. Righteousness will be his belt and faithfulness the sash around his waist. But Jesus chooses to emphasize a different prophecy about the Messiah, one about the blind receiving sight, the lame walking, those who have leprosy being cleansed. So Jesus applies messianic prophecy to himself, and he doesn't correct John's belief because John's belief isn't wrong, but it is incomplete. You see, Jesus is hoping that John's understanding of the Messiah will broaden, that he'll have a change of perspective. In other words, that his beliefs will mature. And we need that kind of transformation in our lives all the time. We believe the Bible is God's word, but what does it really mean that he inspired it? We believe that Jesus is God, but then why does he get tired and need naps? We believe God is all powerful, but can he create a rock so big he can't lift it? You see, we believe certain things, and when we have questions about those things, it shows that we're still working through it, and that's okay. Part of overcoming doubt is maturing in our beliefs about Jesus, God, and the Bible. And that journey of maturing takes time. And so you might be thinking, oh, how long is it going to be before I can have faith again? You see, we tend to think about faith as though it's all or nothing. You either have faith or you have doubt, and there's nothing in between. But I'm not sure that's the case.
Jerry.
Thumbs up, Jeff.
One weekend, I was in Toronto and decided to visit the top of the CN Tower. The only problem is, I'm afraid of heights. I mean, just going up the elevator was terrifying. Even so, when I got to the top, I decided I was going to walk on the infamous glass floor. Now, there were people wandering on and off the glass floor, children crawling around without a care in the world. I was standing on the edge of the glass floor, literally unable to lift my legs and step onto it. And I wasn't the only one. There was a woman next to me who would tiptoe to the edge of the glass floor, look down through it, and scream. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that sound effect is too extreme. It's not. This is what happened next. Jeff is going to be a stand-in for our stranger friend. Finally, standing there, I looked at this woman and I said, I'll do it if you do it. And she paused. She looked at me. She said, okay. Then, with our legs as stiff as boards, we both waddled onto the glass, looked down, and screamed, and immediately reversed the process. Can I suggest that when I stepped out onto that glass floor, I had faith? And please don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fear, a lot of doubt. But that doesn't mean that I didn't have faith. And that's because faith is like courage. When we have courage, it doesn't mean that we don't have any fear. It means that we're able to overcome that fear. And in the same way, you can have faith even when you're doubting. And that's because faith isn't all or nothing. Fun fact, in the New Testament, the Greek word pistis can be translated faith, but it can also be translated belief or trust. Mind blown, at least for me, a little bit, because we can see faith as all or nothing, and we definitely see belief as all or nothing, but trust? It feels obvious to me that we can trust people to a certain degree, and our trust can grow over time. We might not trust someone a lot, but then choose to trust them anyway. You see, we separate these ideas of belief and faith and trust, but the New Testament doesn't. Like the father who asks Jesus to heal his son. When Jesus says everything is possible for the one who believes, pistis, the father says, I believe, help me with my unbelief. Or, I have faith, help me in the ways that I lack faith. Or, I trust you, but I'm struggling to trust you completely. Do you see how this story is showing us that we can have faith and doubt at the same time? So don't underestimate the value of using imperfect faith. What makes trust effective is not how much of it you can make yourself feel. What makes trust effective is when we place it in something that's trustworthy. Listen, that glass floor was going to hold me no matter what, because apparently it's strong enough to hold elephants. If Jesus really is God, like he says he is, then he's worthy of our trust. And a little faith in Jesus, even with some doubts, goes a very long way. John the Baptist had doubts, and he encountered Jesus, and his faith strengthened. Thomas had doubts, and he encountered Jesus, and his faith strengthened. And you can have doubts, and you can encounter Jesus again and again through church, and through reading and praying and journaling and solitude, and conversations with people you love. And your faith can strengthen too. Okay, I just want to be really honest. Navigating doubt
is a journey of adventurous truth seeking. Adventures always include an element of something new and exciting, and sometimes there's treasure. But adventures also include risk and fear and an element of the unknown. Adventures always change the adventurer. And so listen, if you choose to bravely seek the truth, it will change you. That change could be that you lose your faith entirely, but it also could be that your faith deepens and strengthens over months and years to come. For those who choose to stay active in attending church, 81% say that experiencing doubt ultimately resulted in their faith becoming stronger than it was to begin with. That is a really hopeful statistic. And what it shows us is that how we choose to navigate doubt really matters. Did you know that one of the most common reactions to doubt is to withdraw from church, to stop reading our Bible and praying, and to not talk to our friends and family about our doubts? But if Christianity is true, then those are exactly the things we should do when we have doubts. And listen, I'm not telling you to just cover your eyes and believe Christianity blindly. I'm not saying that at all. The questions you have are good questions, and people are asking them. That's why there's a pile of books and YouTube videos and podcasts to help. People want to talk about the things you want to talk about. But here's the thing. You're not going to come across those helpful guides if you sit back and hope that your social media feeds serve them to you somehow. You might actually have to go looking for them. But here's the good news. You might not have to look very far, because I bet there are people in your community who have struggled with doubt in the past. You should talk to them. Ask them what their journey was like. How did they come back to a place of confident faith? And will they journey with you? So I'm sure by now you've realized this series isn't going to get rid of your doubts for you. There are just so many challenging questions about Christianity that I didn't even mention in this series. So if you had doubts before, you probably still have doubts. That journey is still ahead of you. And that's because this video series was really about helping Christians be better at journeying through doubt together. We don't have to hide our doubts from God or each other. We should seriously consider our questions and how they connect to our hearts. And doubt doesn't need to kill your faith.
The truth is, I don't know what your journey is going to look like because it's an adventure, but I think it's going to have something to do with maturing in your relationship with God as you patiently seek the truth with those who love you most. And Jesus is with you on the journey because he cares for you.